pulling teeth. One problem which affects all human beings is having to have something done to our teeth. Just what causes all of us to go into a dither, get nervous, and put off to the last possible moment having anyone touch our teeth until the pain and misery convinces us something must be done, is one of those unsolved mysteries. But it happens to all of us. We go through hell in pain until we can't stand it anymore before we get up courage to even think what the relief will be. Then, with the encouragement from sympathizers, we make our way to the dentist, hell chambers, and we get inside. The thought of what we will have to go through almost turns us back. But we manage to stay around. The screams coming from that room, then the door opening and the sight of that conglomeration of steel bars, pads, and offset pads called a dentist chair comes into view. Suddenly the pain in your tooth is gone and you want to run outside and as far away as you can get. You get to the door. Then sanity returns and the thought of others calling you a patsy pulls you back in line to go in when your turn comes, and ready to take that torture is handed out to you. The loss of a little blood and a big hole in your mouth, and the pain is gone. Really, it wasn't that bad. It's not like that at all these days. It's nothing going to the dentist. He puts in some freezing stuff and you just sit there while he pulls, drills, and fills your teeth, and you don't feel a bit of pain. But it wasn't always this way. It's not much more than 30 years ago that this painless dentistry came into being. In fact, there were very few dentists before then, and what there were few and far apart. So when truth trouble came up, we had to depend on the old farm pliers and the strong arm of Dad, the blacksmith or the family doctor to pull the tooth, hoping that the pliers would not slip off and pinch your tongue. The forceps the dentist of today uses, made for all sizes and shapes of teeth, are an invention which came into use as more dentists put up their shingles. Getting a tooth filled was something almost unheard of in the old days. If a tooth hurt, you got it pulled, and that was the end of it. Sometimes a traveling dentist came through the towns, and if he considered a filling or a cap was necessary, then we got it done. Fillings never lasted very long. Any time after a year, the filling was in your stomach before you noticed it was gone. Then the next time the tooth hurt, you got it pulled out. Might just as well have had it pulled in the first place. As a little shaver, I had real good teeth, but like all kids, when my second teeth started to grow in, my baby teeth had to come out. I remember one of my baby teeth got stuck in some gum I was chewing, and when I took the gum out, there was my tooth. A couple of others came loose, and I pulled them out with my fingers. Then one day a tooth got loose, and I tried to get it out with my fingers. Nothing doing. I got Dad's pliers, but they kept slipping off. Dad was away somewhere. So Mother told me that when she was a little girl, they tied a string around the loose tooth and tied the other end to the doorknob. When someone slammed the door shut, out came the tooth. Didn't hurt at all. She tied the string around my tooth and the doorknob, and I stood back at the end of the string with the door open, waiting for someone to come in. No one came. Mother tried slamming the door shut, but every time she tried slamming the door, I ran forward, so it didn't work. By this time, just the thought of that door slamming got me all worked up, and I was in tears. Mother was doing her best to comfort and encourage me when Brother Marshall, the little devil, moved away from behind me and suddenly gave the door a hard push. I didn't see what was going on. The first I knew of what was happening was when I saw my tooth flying through the air. Marshall didn't wait to see what was happening. He took off on the dead run. I was stunned and late in getting away, so he had a good start on me. With Mother standing there, I couldn't swear, but a lot of pretty choice cuss words went through my mind as I chased him down the barn and out into the cow pasture. He had too much of a start, so I had to give up. I went back to the house and picked up the tooth and put it under my pillow, hoping that the good fairy would leave a little extra, seeing that I had gone through so much getting my tooth pulled. There was only 1 penny under my pillow next morning, and the tooth was gone. My next encounter that I remember came when a hole showed up in one of my teeth at the very back of my lower jaw. When I first noticed it, it didn't ache, but I could feel it with my tongue. But it soon got worse and started to ache. Mother put a piece of whole cloves in. By keeping cloves in, stopped it up for a while, but the hole kept getting larger and the cloves didn't help much. Then she put in a small piece of cotton batton, soaked in carbolic acid, with another piece of cotton batton over it, so it didn't burn so much. My jaw swelled up, and I could hardly eat anything. The traveling dentist decided it needed capping, as the tooth was too good to pull. So he went at it with his foot treadle drill. God, that hurt. He packed the tooth with something that took away the pain and told me to come back the next morning. By this time, it was getting late, and as it was 28 miles home, Dad decided we might as well stay overnight and get the job finished up once and for all. 28 miles today with a car is nothing, but in those days there were only horses to use, and traveling at between 3 and 4 miles per hour, it was about an 8-hour trip, just one way. Well, I was able to get some supper down. The first food other than some soup I had been able to put through my mouth for 3 days, so I was hungry. I felt better. The stuff he had put in my tooth had lost its pain-killing effect by morning, so when I got back to the dentist, it was really paining again, and I wanted him pull it. He assured me everything would be okay when he got the cap on. He put some more stuff on that helped the pain and went after it again. Said he would not be long. He drilled some more, then stuck a thing that looked like a corkscrew down into the hole he had drilled. When he pulled it out, I thought the top of my head was coming off. I came right up off the chair with his hand. He showed me what he had pulled out. It looked like a piece of thread. He said it was the nerve. I believed it because I felt it in my toes. I had never tasted any kind of liquor before, so the reaction when he told me to drink about a half cup on an empty stomach was quick and produced the desired results. I went sound asleep. The next thing I knew, I was lying on the couch in the room where Dad and the dentist had put me to sleep off my cheap drunk. My head felt bigger than a wash tub, but the pain in my tooth was gone. I didn't have any more trouble with my teeth for about 2 years. Then that same capped tooth started to ache again. It got worse by the day until I couldn't stand up, lie down, or get in any position to get relief. Mother tried the cloves and carbolic acid again, but nothing worked. Dad inquired about when the dentist would be back again, but found he didn't come that way anymore. That capping just seemed to be holding all the hell and damnation I was ever going to suffer down in the tooth. I tried pliers and a screwdriver to get it off. Nothing doing. If for no other reason, it was sure to stay on. I just couldn't take it any longer, so we decided it would have to be pulled. As I mentioned before, in those days, we had to depend on a strong arm to pull a tooth. My paining tooth was firmly attached to my lower jaw, and it would take a very strong arm to pull it out. The blacksmith in Sedgwick was such a man. He was the local tooth puller around there, so Dad took me to him. He had a lot of work piled up ahead to be done, and he told Dad to bring me back after supper. But when he saw me with my black eye and swollen jaw, he decided the other work could wait a little longer. He didn't have a dentist chair where the patient could lie back and be comfortable. The only chair he had was the straight back chair, where he sat down to rest a few moments when he was too tired to continue with the heavy work of shoeing horses and pounding out plowshares and fire welding broken machinery parts. He just stood under 6 feet. He had tremendous shoulders and arms that were like layers of strips of steel built one on top of the other to produce the strength to handle his work. He was a craftsman of the highest quality. They are all gone now. He was ready and motioned me to the chair. I knew it was going to hurt, but I also knew that after all the pain and torture my tooth had given me for the past 4 days, anything he could do would be no worse. I sat down in the chair. He picked up a pair of pliers he had made. They had short jaws and long handles. Seemed to me he was going to use one of the pair of tongs he used for holding a plowshare while he pounded it out. I opened my mouth. I did not think he could get the pliers in, but he did, and took a grip on the tooth. Then pulled. He lifted me right up off the chair. The tooth didn't budge, and the pliers slipped off and pinched my tongue. By the feel of it, I thought he had cut my tongue in two. The blood squirted out, but after I spit a few times, it stopped. The tooth was as solid as ever. With the next grip he took on my tooth, he could have carried me around the shop. The pliers hung on. So, to hold me down, Dad sat on my lap. I hung on to the bottom of the chair. A straight pull was no good. He had to twist the tooth to break it loose. When he started to twist, I let loose of the chair and grabbed his arms. Then Dad put his arms around mine and pinned me to the chair. I couldn't move. Every nerve and bone in my body felt every twist and jerk. I yelled and screamed as loud as I could, and the tears were streaming down my cheeks. But neither of them paid any attention to me. The blacksmith had a real holding grip on my tooth, and come what may, he was not letting loose. Through my tears I could see the sweat on his forehead, and could feel the sweat on his arms around my neck, and his hand holding my jaw. My mouth was full of blood, which I had no way of getting rid of other than swallowing it. It was running down my neck as well. That didn't matter. I could wash it off. After what seemed to me to be hours, suddenly the tooth came loose, and out it came. He let go of my neck, and Dad got up off my lap. Holding one of my hands, he steadied me while I threw up all the blood I had swallowed. Felt like I could shove my fist in the hole where the tooth had been, and oh, so good. Even though there was soreness, the pain was gone. I made a vow right there and then that if I had any more trouble, there would be no more fillings or cappings. The tooth would come out wherever I would have to go to get it done. Well, as it happened, no more of my teeth went bad, and when I enlisted, I had as fine a set of teeth as could be asked for. They were all there, too, except the vacant spot where that capped tooth came out of. Though I suffered little pain and no aches, my fine set of teeth were not to last too long. At 26, I had lost them all. I had only been back from the war a couple years when I commenced to notice, every once in a while, I found a piece of porcelain from my teeth in my food. My teeth commenced to show cracks, and then a piece would fall out. There was an aggravating pain, which I could control by chewing snus or snuff, a box each day. Then I got trench mouth. My teeth got loose, and finally I couldn't bite anything. The teeth would bend back and forth, and the bite would not close together. Funny, there was not much ache or pain. I decided I had to get some treatment, so went to the doctor. He sent me to the dentist, who told me all my teeth would have to come out, and that I had, it's so long ago I can't remember what he called it. I couldn't spell it anyway. I had to have it done right away, as the trench mouth could be transferred to others in the family. I had heard this before, so had been careful that no one else used any of the dishes or utensils I was using. He pulled my lower teeth one day, and the next day he pulled all my uppers. It took years before I was able to get a set of teeth that I could wear, because pieces of the teeth roots and the jawbone kept breaking away and coming through the gums. The dentist explained that the close contact to bursting shells and the concussion from them had cracked my teeth, because unconsciously I had gripped my teeth so hard together when a shell broke there was no place to take up the jar. I was never able to drop to the ground. I just stood there with my teeth gripped tight and took the blast when it came. It damaged my teeth, which never healed back together again. I wore both my plates for a number of years. Then, when I got knocked out in the second war, and the jaw socket was broken and never healed up tight, it left a gap in the socket which allows the lower jaw to work up and down when I chew, making a kind of clap, clap noise. Then my teeth don't come together on a correct bite. That's no good, so I gave up wearing the lower plate. I can eat steak or anything else besides nuts, and who wants nuts anyway? So I get by. That's all that counts. Though it happened better than 60 years ago, I still get the shivers when the thought of that capped tooth crosses my mind.